What next for Rhian Brewster? Now, Rhian Brewster joined Derby County in the summer on a free transfer, stepped into the first team a few games in and ultimately showed Derby County fans exactly how good he is. But over the course of the last few weeks, he's not really been in the side, and that is because Derby County have won 5 in a row. Now, do I believe that Rhian Brewster should be in this team? Absolutely. I think if you put him on the right-hand side of that front three, I think he could cause all sorts of problems. But the problem we have is he's not in that front three, and it's Ben Brereton Diaz. Now, what are we going to see from Rhian Brewster? Is he finally going to get his opportunity? Let's talk about it. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. But shall we? Let's get into it. So, Rhian Brewster at Derby County. It was a move which came out of the blue, wasn't a move which I anticipated, wasn't a move which I even felt was realistic. Now, obviously, was a free transfer, but the wages that he was on at Sheffield United, there was no way he was going to get that here, and he hasn't. The rumour is that he's on around £20,000 at Derby County, which is a big steep drop from what he was getting at Sheffield United, but ultimately gives him the opportunity to rebuild his career. And I certainly believe he's going about it the right way. There's no moaning about him being on the bench, not just yet anyway. And he's been on the bench pretty much since he returned from injury, and that's sort of the position we find ourselves in, because Rhian Brewster hasn't quite been able to get it going yet for me. And that's probably because he's not been able to play consistently. He's pretty much come off the bench in most games. But we need a little bit more. How are we going to see that little bit more, though? That is my question. Now, I think when you look at the games that we've got coming up, you've obviously got the big Christmas run, which is coming up, where we're going to have to rotate. Like, I'm not being funny. I think we can all be completely open and honest in saying that the 11 that played versus Blackburn, let's say, and Hull and things like that, we can't play that same 11 every game until the 4th of January, because there's one point where we've got, I think it's 4 games in less than 10 days, which is absolutely ridiculous. It is literally Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. There's only a 1 week gap for us, which is the 29th of December, 29th of November to the 6th of December. That's our longest gap over the course of this Christmas period, which is, it is crazy. It is absolutely ridiculous. So changes are going to have to be made, and that, for me, one of them will be bringing in Rhian Brewster on the right-hand side. Now, we also are going to need to utilise Corey Blackett-Taylor. We're going to need to use Lars Jorgen Selverson. Danny Bart will get an opportunity. Owen Beck, Ryan Niambi, they're all going to get chances. Liam Thompson. But it's about what they do with it. And for me, if you come in, score a goal, put in a good performance, you keep your place. You absolutely keep your place. Now, I think in terms of the striker position, that's probably the hardest one to discuss, really, in terms of positions changing and players coming in, because our front three at the moment of Adjumang, Morris and Brereton Diaz has been very, very good. Now, do I think it's the best it could be? No. I do believe that Brewster would be more impactful than Diaz, but I think you don't want to change what's working. There's obviously a dynamic up there between those three that is working, creates good chances, obviously gives us the positions to get set pieces in and around the box and corners and things like that, which give us the opportunity to score goals like we have done with Carlton Morris, who I think scored 3 headers in the last week, which is absolutely ridiculous, really. It's not something that you anticipate. There's not many teams in the world that score 3-headed goals in a week and win all 3 games. Usually those sort of goals are equalisers. Like your set pieces aren't usually your goals that go on and win games, but they're goals that can make a difference. And I think we've seen that over the course of recent weeks, is that we've been dominant from set pieces, and I think that helps with the size of the squad. And I also think that's another reason why Rhian Brewster is still sitting on the bench, because I think Diaz is taller than him, not by much, but taller, bigger build, and it just causes more of a problem in terms of those set pieces, and in terms of up against the defenders for the first 60 or 70 minutes. It causes you to have those situations where you've got those players having that impact and causing those problems, because at the end of the day, a bigger player can fatigue you easily. Like, imagine Carlton Morris running into you. That will just tire you out in running into you. And imagine having to deal with that for 60, 70 minutes, constantly bumping you, constantly shoving his arm into you. Like, the weight, the power, it impacts you. It will. And the thing is, for me, is I think that Rhian Brewster will have an impact on this season. I think Rhian Brewster, if we get into the playoffs, will be the reason we get into the playoffs. I think the front three will eventually be Agyemang, Morris and Brewster. That is what I think our best front three is. And that's what I wanted to see a few weeks ago when Derby County weren't really playing very well. But obviously, that didn't really go to plan. But we are going to have to wait and see what does happen with this, because for me, Rhian Brewster came to Derby County to revive his career. He's not reviving his career sitting on the bench. And I don't think he's going to ask to leave. Of course not. He's only on a 2-year contract. If he can get 20 grand a week to sit on the bench for 2 years, he's not going to be complaining, is he? He's going to be laughing all the way to the bank. That's what, 2-ish million quid for 2 years of work. Like, he's not going to be complaining. So we've got to be really open and honest about the situation. And the facts are, Rhian Brewster is a very, very good player. Is he better than Brereton Diaz? I personally do believe so. But to be better than Brereton Diaz, you've got to get the opportunity to show that in the team. Obviously, I think it was Ipswich where he played in a similar position to what Diaz is playing now. And I thought Brewster was brilliant. I think I'm pretty sure he scored and won a penalty, which was absolutely tremendous. Derby County should have gone on and won that game, but obviously we don't need to get into the specifics of as to why we didn't. Obviously, that really, really late penalty. But it's one of those situations for me where Derby County found a way that day, which is literally in the same system that we're playing right now, to get the best out of Brewster, get the best out of Morris. I think Bobby Clark was good that day as well, if I remember rightly. The midfield balance was a little bit sloppy that day. I think we had Adams and Travis in midfield. But it's those sort of things that give me hope for where Derby County are going to go. I think Rhian Brewster is certainly going to find himself as part of Derby County's front three soon enough. And we're going to have to take advantage of a player like Rhian Brewster, because if he hits performance levels that I anticipate he will do, he won't be at this club for too long, and we're going to have to be discussing a new contract as quickly as possible. Now, we will have a video discussing contracts and all things like that as we head towards the January transfer window. But for me and for you, what are your thoughts on Rhian Brewster? Do you think he's going to get back into this team, and where do you think he should play? Obviously, for me, Rhian Brewster should be on the right-hand side where Diaz is, and I think he would have a much bigger impact. But we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Obviously, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye, guys.